Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live hangout here at Voice Essentials. So good to have you tune in. If you're watching this as a replay, welcome to the show. I know so many of you watch this as a replay. If you are in the live chat already, hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. It is always good to hang out with you every Monday, Australian Eastern Standard Time at 1 p.m. And we've got a great show lined up today. I've got a very special guest. Someone who we didn't discuss this before the show, but I sang with Emma a long time ago. Let's just put it that way. Maybe it would be revealing too much about our age to declare how long ago we sang together. We might find that out. I can't remember, to be honest. It was a long time ago, but Emma is just a delightful human being. But beyond being delightful, she is uber talented, wonderful musician, singer, choir director. You are going to learn so much from her and from our time together today. So strap yourselves in. It's going to be a really fantastic spend of your time for the next 45 minutes or so. Before I introduce Emma, a couple of things. First of all, my thoughts and prayers are with all of you in the States. So many of you watch this show from America, and here in Australia, certainly the media coverage of what's happening over there is quite distressing to watch, and so I can only think about what it might be to be living in that. I hope you are safe. I hope you are well, and my concerns for you as the country in the States goes through, what is a challenging time for the entire world, it must be said. COVID has really, radically changed the world that we are currently living in, but it's radically changed some places more than others, and so hearts and thoughts with you in the US at the moment. Actually, I want to give a little bit of a shout out to one of my new private students. I started with Terry only like an hour ago. And Terry, I think her handle is Scuba TL or something. I don't know, Terry. I can't see the live chat, but if you're watching, Terry, hi. I really enjoyed our first lesson together. And so Terry's going to be joining with me over the next coming weeks and months as we develop her voice. If you're looking for individual tuition, you can certainly check all of that. All the details of all this sort of stuff is in the description section of the video. And but a special shout out to Terry. It was a fun lesson. I enjoyed myself. Terry was a really inquisitive student. I love inquisitive students, so it was fantastic. One final thing before we get into it. Hey, listen, the pre-launch special for Voice Essentials 2, if you wanted to get the $100 off, that opportunity is no longer. It's now the 1st of June in Australia. So that $100 off has finished. But if you are still wanting to sign up to Voice Essentials 2 online course and you still want to save some money, the recommended retail is going to be $197 for the 12 module courses. But for all of the month of June, you can still get $50 off. So if you do want to save yourself some dollars before it goes live in July, then make sure you do so and grab your pre-launch discount. And again, the links are in the description section below. That's enough about all of that. I want to get into today's show. I want to spend as much time as I possibly can chatting with a person who I just know. I'm just getting myself all ready here, everyone, who you are going to just love chatting with. I'll be right back in just a sec to introduce Emma Dean.
Sound check. Check 1, check 2.
Hello, Emma.
Hello, Dr. Dan.
It's so good to have you on the show. And I've been looking forward to, I invited you onto the show like back in February, January, like it was a little while ago. And you were, as I knew you would be, uber busy with so much that you do, and we'll talk more about all of that stuff. But of course, that was pre-COVID, right? Like,
It was.
and so I was always a little bit disappointed that I had to wait so long to have you on the show, but the time has finally arrived. Now, can you remember when we sang together? You can.
I sure can.
I
So
can remember the event. I just can't remember when it was.
it was 2006,
Okay.
and it was a Christmas show with Hazel Phillips.
Oh, dearie me, your memory is good.
And I remember that she had a dress that belonged to Marilyn Monroe, and she made me wear it, even though it was way too tight and I had to like shuffle out onto the stage. I couldn't really sing in it. But what a fabulous experience
Wow.
wearing Marilyn Monroe's dress. Oh,
So I take it then that the memory of that event is not singing with me. It's actually the dress that you wore.
you were the highlight. Singing with you was the highlight. Marilyn, a close second.
I'm happy to be a second to Marilyn Monroe, I can assure you. But can you remember, now did we sing
Maybe it's cold outside.
Baby It's Cold Outside? That's right.
We sure did.
And it was for the Brisbane City Council Seniors Christmas event, wasn't it? And we did multiple shows in a week.
We did.
What a blast that
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
It was amazing. It
Yeah,
was so
good
fun.
fun.
And I was an up and comer, and just I felt like I learnt so much from you and Hazel and everybody else in the show. It was Paul Dellett,
Paul
wasn't
Dellett,
it?
yeah, who was our MD.
It was just awesome. It was
Yeah.
so much fun.
Oh, I thoroughly enjoyed singing with you. In fact, I had done the same show, but not for the Christmas, but for the Seniors Week concert with Kate Miller-Heidke.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so
That would be
Kate-
great.
So I got to meet got to sing with two fabulously talented women, in two different events. But anyway, I've always remembered our time together.
Me too.
Kate, Emma, you know, you described yourself as an up and comer at that point, but you up and came. Like you really, you're doing this thing. I mean, since that point, your career has just been, the breadth of it is so vast. Tell us a bit about what you've done, because you've been to New York, and your heart must be breaking for what's happening over there at the moment. Tell us a bit, give us a little bit of a history line, just so people can really appreciate the depth and breadth of your experience.
Sure. Well, yeah, so back then, I still consider myself as an up-and-comer, because I just feel like I learn all the time. I'm always learning and I'm always growing. I think my trajectory has been not so much like that, but more like that.
Yeah.
So I'm a singer-songwriter, and that's, I started off actually as a classical violinist, and then I was so shy growing up that I used to lock myself in my room and write songs, sort of like a diary entry. So I found this love of songwriting from a very early age. And then I went and studied jazz at the Queensland Conservatorium of Music, and I think that was when I first met you, Dan, because I think you came and did a little demonstration at one of the vocal workshops, and I remember you singing an exceptionally high note.
Okay.
And I was like, whoa, who is this guy? And then what did I do? So, I joined Kate Miller-Heidke's band, actually. So
Yeah, right.
I toured around with her as her violinist and backing vocalist, and sort of about a decade passed, and I was doing the singer-songwriter stuff, and then I moved to New York, and I lived there I was kind of back and forth for about 3 years, which was an amazing, amazing time, but it was really challenging. I was a struggling artist living in the Big Apple. By day, I was a children's entertainer, and by night, I was performing on off-Broadway, opening for a lot of the beautiful drag queens who were on RuPaul's Drag Race. which was just phenomenal. And then I found myself feeling quite isolated in New York, and a little bit lonely, and really questioning what I was doing there. I had lost my love for music, and I decided to move home and start a choir. I was longing for connection. I was longing for community, and Cheep Trill was born. And kind of the rest is history. Everything's just snowballed, and I do a bit of teaching and workshops, and still performing my own music and my own original shows, and also, running this beautiful choir that I love so dearly.
And whenever I have to declare this, because whenever I have a student who asks me about wanting to participate in a community choir, Cheep Trill is where I send them. Now, I don't know how many students have then gone on to contact you, but Cheep Trill is always, and has always been, from the moment you started it. I used to say, well, actually, I've got a friend, Emma Dean, she's just started this choir called Cheep Trill, and I've always got a sort of cheap trill, so that you kind of get the words right.
Spell it out.
You spell it out. and I always send them to you, because we had Francesca de Valiance, which I think she'd go crook on me if I said, because I think I just said her last name incorrectly, and she would go crook on me. Sorry, Fran. We had her on a few months back, and what I love about what Fran's doing is this sense of community, this sense of equality, this sense of just encouragement, that what Fran is doing, it's what we're all about here at Voice Essentials. And I know from what I observe that it's what you're all about at Cheep Trill. Tell me a bit more about what, in your own view, what is Cheep Trill? What is its purpose of existing?
Oh, that's a really good question. It's so funny. It started, it had such small and humble beginnings. We used to rehearse on a veranda in Everton Park, looking over this paddock with a few cows in it who would kind of lend some backing vocals throughout the night. And really it started because I was actually desperate for connection, and I needed to tap back into what I loved about singing and what I loved about music, because I'd sort of got caught up in the pursuit of, I don't even want to say fame, but maybe recognition, or like I thought that that's what I had to do to be successful, which really was not the case at all, in my opinion. So it started that way, and then very quickly it began to grow, and I found myself sort of collecting these people from around Brisbane who were also hungry for connection and longing to sort of meet people outside of their immediate circles, and were just so drawn to the idea of singing in harmony and just coming together, and doing something in sync, and sort of bypassing all of the stuff that divides us, because there's so much stuff that divides us, right?
Yes.
And instead focusing on the things that unite us. And so then it became this, it's more than a choir, it is a community. Yes. I love what you said before about Francesca and your work. It's more than just, teaching singing and teaching songwriting. It's actually a community where we're learning from each other. I learn just as much.
Absolutely.
From them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? And we won't unpack this, but just to make the observation, all of us, Fran, yourself, myself, and there are a number of others who are doing wonderful work. I had Ingrid James on the show a couple of weeks back.
Amazing.
Where she's done the jam night.
Love them.
Again, very community orientated. You know, we all, I think, had particular experiences in our tertiary upbringing that caused us to seek out a more community orientated, and for that to become our sense of, without seeking to gild the lily with this, that becoming our sense of success. You know,
That's it.
and you have, you know, had tremendous success in my view as an individual performer. But it isn't interesting. I mean, I've had 2 national top 30s myself, but I view the success more in the community of Voice Essentials, and that's what I value, you know, far more than, and I'm sure the same thing goes for you. So with Cheep Trill, you know, being this powerhouse of community gathering, and you know, then we hit COVID.
Oh my God.
And
Yeah.
of course there's, you know, new research coming out about, you know, the transmission of COVID amongst group singing, which should not be misinterpreted, incidentally. Singing remains and it will always be a really wonderful thing to do for your physical and mental health, and we all should keep singing. But for the time being, we are being instructed by really smart people in the area of ensemble singing to be very careful how we gather and how we do that. So Cheep Trill kind of came to a bit of a block in the road. What has been your response to that?
My goodness, it really did come to a block in the road, and it felt like it all happened overnight, and there was this panic. I became quite manic for like a week trying to figure out what on earth I was going to do, how I was going to transition and pivot towards potentially an online platform. I'm such a technology phobe. Like I'm so bad with technology. It scares me. I'm getting better now thanks to this experience actually, but oh boy, did it scare me. And so I came up with this concept called computer choir. So we did a few tests on Zoom, and of course, and you would know this, Dan, you know, when you're working on Zoom, you've got this huge lag. So singing in a choir, multiple voices singing at once, you're all singing at different times, and it's next to impossible. So practicing, coming up with, you know, this concept of muting everyone while they sing along with me at home, and then I thought, oh, but how do we, you know, part of the beauty of choir is being able to hear those beautiful harmonies together. How do we make that happen if we can't do it live? So then we decided that we would work towards releasing a music video. So basically what we do is we have 4-week terms where every week I will take a sectional. So I'll get the sopranos together, then the altos, then the tenors, then the basses, and teach them their parts. We're just working on one song. And then at the end of that 4 weeks, we get them to record their voices just onto their phone, and we mix them all together. And we also have a beautiful, incredible choreographer called Katie Swan, who actually plays a character called Glenn Destiny Ray, who's all about moving from the heart. He's not a dancer, he's more of a mover and shaker. And he actually takes these online dance lessons. So the choir have the option to learn some funky moves and video themselves for the music video.
Fantastic.
And so it's just so much fun. It's not the same as being in a choir and hearing the beautiful harmonies in real time, but it's something different, and it's hopefully filling that void for the moment. So that is computer choir, and a big shout out to my team, Tony Dean, who's my brother, who works on computer choir, Corinne Bazanjic, and Katie Swan.
Good on you guys. You're doing a fantastic job in continuing to create cohesion, isn't it? It's about maintaining that sense of connection.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
So important for so many people.
How do you
myself?
Yeah. How do you see community choir moving forward?
My particular choir, or just
No,
in
sorry,
general?
sorry.
Oh.
I did misspeak.
Oh.
Computer choir. How do you see that moving forward?
Well, to be honest, I have loved it so much that even when we are able to meet and gather and sing together in a space,
Yeah.
I would still love to do computer choir maybe on the off seasons. So I think there are lots of people who are hungry for a different way of
Okay.
expressing themselves. So having that choreography, dress ups, and that sort of more extroverted option really appeals to a lot of people. The other thing, and you would know this, is that suddenly, we can reach all of these beautiful people from all around the world.
It was going to be my next question. Is it community Cheep Trill? Is it audition based? Are you auditioning people? No, I didn't think so. I wanted to. I was almost 100% certain that it wasn't, but I just wanted to double check that. So, and that I think is a key attribute to the community culture that you've built. Is that it's not an exclusive club, right?
Not at all.
It's an inclusive gathering of singers, which is just so wonderful. How might someone who's watching today put their hand up to participate in computer choir?
Well, the timing is a little bit off because registrations just closed on Friday, I think, for our next term.
Much.
I know, just by that much. However, if you go to computerchoir.com, there's a bunch of info there, and we will definitely be doing another term, so you can even join our mailing list.
Awesome. Awesome.
And we'd love to have you.
And everyone, you should do that. If you're interested in ensemble singing, choir singing, look, I really, really encourage you to do that. Can I let you in on a little secret, Emma?
Oh, please.
As you know, my career vocally has been mostly solo. But as I've gotten older, as I've matured, that's the word I'm going to choose to use.
I like that.
You like that? I have, and my wife knows this because it's sort of something I've shared privately. Now I'm sharing to the world. I would love to participate in not a choir per se, but an ensemble. Like America has this really wonderful subculture of voice in ensemble singing, like 8-part, like Voctave, Naturally Seven, who are the other groups, Pentatonics, that sort of, we've got our groups here, their name escaped me, four vocals, you would know them if I said them, from Sydney, mostly.
Idea of North.
Thank you, Idea of North, who are just amazing. And I've always had this sort of, I'd love to be a part of that sort of with, really top, because these people, I mean, are just also top level. And sometimes when I listen to Voctave, I'm on the edge of tears. It really, really, there's something about the collective voice, the synergy of human voices coming together in really wonderfully passionate form that really moves me. And I'm sure it doesn't move everyone, but it definitely moves me, and it's something that I've always wanted to participate in.
Oh, and you know what? I think that you should start a group like that, because I can totally see you
That's
rocking it.
Thank you. Do you know what? I think I would need to join the group of someone who is musically more gifted than me. No, seriously, because what I acknowledge is a lot of these groups have one or two individuals in them who their musicianship is like off the charts. Like they're literally on the charts because they're the people who are writing the charts. And it's the arrangements, isn't it? It's the musicality that sits underneath the voices that are then representing. And I'm a bit of a one-trick pony. I could only be the voice, I think. Whereas we'd need someone like you, or I'm thinking of someone like a Renee Sutti, who's just adorable, but is just musically so gifted. It would need someone like yourselves to So maybe I'm planting the seed with you.
Yeah,
Mind you, you are
let's talk
already.
later.
Yes, maybe we should. You are already so busy. Let's talk about creativity, because that is actually how we kind of thumbnailed this whole
right.
chat. Let's talk about creativity, because in this time of COVID, creativity. I was listening to a podcast yesterday about. It was actually an ABC podcast about comedians. No, talking about, they had two comedians on. One of them was saying that they'd found it really hard creatively, and one of them was saying they'd found it was this plethora of opportunity. How have you found the time of COVID around creativity, and how do you think it will shape you going forward?
Oh, that's such a big question. It's I'm a bit up and down with it all, to be honest.
Yeah.
I am currently trying to write a show, and I've always been one of those people who, I guess in my 20s, I used to just really rely on the creative force to sort of strike me down. It's flowing through me, go to the piano, and it just all kind of flows. And as life gets busier, I need to anyway kind of set aside time to practice my creativity, to practice my craft, which is something that I really love about Francesca De Valence and her I Heart Songwriting Club, because it really gives you that framework, an hour a week.
Yeah.
Put that aside, practice. And one of the beautiful things that I learnt, because I've dipped in and out of her club, one of the beautiful things I've learnt is that you don't need to put the pressure on yourself to constantly be creating something brilliant.
Yeah.
To constantly be creating the best song ever, the stakes don't have to be that high. So I've enjoyed, during this COVID time, having a little bit more space and time to play the guitar, something that I don't do particularly well, and trying to teach myself new chords and writing new songs that may not be the best song in the world, but I'm playing, like I'm having fun. And that's something that I think the older we get, we have forgotten the art of actually just playing. And I'm not talking about playing music,
No.
I'm just talking about play.
Yes.
And imagination and all of those things that spark that creativity.
Yeah.
So it's been good in that way. But I also know that there has been that little voice in my head that says, you need to be doing more. You've got all this time. You need to write your next album. Or, and I think a lot of creative people have really struggled with that and the guilt that comes with that.
Yeah.
So I've experienced a bit of both of those things.
I know that a lot of my students who, when we went into the COVID period of time, had thought to themselves, I'm going to get so much more practice done because I'm going to have so much more time. And I kind of already knew, I suspected, let's say it that way, that may not prove to be the case, because like I observe over Christmas, when my students have a 5-6 week break over the Christmas period of time, and students often go into the Christmas period going, I'm going to have so much time to practice, and they come back going, well, I got probably less practice done. and I think there's something in it's the old adage, isn't it? Want something done, ask a busy person. There's something that we get into the mode of doing. I love what you've just said about playing, and I think that's something that you're quite right. I think as adults we do forget to play, don't we? We here in Australia, everyone, we've had a TV show that's been on during COVID. It's just recently finished, called Lego Masters.
Oh, I
Did
haven't
you
watched it
did you have a
yet.
chance to watch it? And it's a fun family show. It's sort of like it's run in the version of a TV reality sort of thing. But what I've loved about it, because we don't watch reality TV show like competition shows in our house, they're sort of banned because I hate them. But this show was so different. The culture of the show was so different. It was supportive of one another. Yes, it was a competition, so people were being eliminated, but the care and the heart that was in that process. But what I particularly loved about the show was it's all adults making Lego, and so often throughout the show, they showed the adults playing with the Lego. Like they were creating and they were playing. What's in that, do you think, when we come to creativity? Because some people would be watching the show today and going, yeah, I don't feel like I've got to create. I'm not a creative person. It's all well and good for Dr. Dan and Emma Dean. You know, they're obviously creatives. But for people who do not consider themselves to be creatives, which you and I would disagree with, I would dare say, categorically, everyone's a creative.
Yeah.
How do you encourage, how do we prime that pump?
Oh, such a good question. Again, I was just, as you were talking about Lego Masters, I was thinking back to a couple of days ago. I was at a beautiful dinner party with my boyfriend's family, and he's got a beautiful little niece who's 8, and she wanted me to play libraries with her, and I was the librarian, and or I was the mum, or I was the dad, and watching her little brain sort of tick away and create this completely imaginary world that she was inviting me into was so extraordinary. And I think you know, when you hang around kids a lot and when you see them in action just creating something out of nothing, you realize that we all have that innate sort of ability. We are all creative beings at our essence. And somewhere along the way we're told that, or the message that we're getting is that creativity, singing, dancing, acting is for the elite. You know, it's for the people who are gifted at that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so we switch off, like, oh no, we're not. Yeah, I'm not a creative. I'm not a dancer. I'm not a. But you look at a kid, and you know, they don't have those inhibitions. They're dancing, and they don't care if they're good or bad or what people think. They're dancing for the pleasure of dancing.
Yeah.
They're dancing to express themselves. They're singing to express themselves.
Yes.
It's not about. It's just the simple pleasure of creating, you know. And I think somehow we need to remind the adults that we coach and that we teach and that we work with that it's okay to make a mistake. It's okay to sing an off note. It's okay to dance a silly move. It's okay to write a bad song, but because of how it makes you feel, it's the process. And to lower those stakes and to sort of just tap into the joy that it gives you rather than the end product. It's not about the end product.
No.
It's about the
process.
gift of creating.
Yeah.
So
Everyone who regularly watches this show is all going, yep, because that you've literally just ticked all of the Voice Essentials kind of community boxes. You know, it's like, you know, it's okay to make mistakes. You're allowed to play. You don't have to have perfect notes. Like, it's everything you just said is what we say here all the time, because and it's funny because it's so important that we constantly get reminded of these things from people like you.
So, like, I need to be reminded of it as well, as I'm sure you probably do. Like, we all do. Yeah.
We all do, because it is all too easy. like you said, at some point we fall into this social consciousness where we become conscious of what other people think of us. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong here, I think it's because we become conscious of others and we start to make critical observations of other people, and in doing so, it's that sort of the old adage of, you know, when you're pointing the finger, you've got one finger pointing out and three fingers pointing back, and and I wonder what damage in us judging others, because we do, right? Like,
Of course.
we do, and it's not always. It's sadly, it's often to our shame that we do, but we do, and I wonder how that damages our creativity, our ability and willingness, like you said, to make mistakes, to be heard, to be bad.
Absolutely. I think one of my favorite quotes is by Theodore Roosevelt, and it's, "Comparison is the thief of joy." And to me, that just says it all. As soon as I start comparing myself to someone else, I lose the joy of what I'm doing, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, the sort of prevalence of social media, Facebook, that,
Yes.
you know, we're constantly comparing ourselves.
Yes.
And the content that so many people put out there is that perfect filter.
Perfect.
You know, it's
Yep.
the auto-tuned song.
Yes.
It's the highly produced hit and the
Yep.
face-tuned bass.
Yes.
And so how can you live up to those standards, you know? And so I think we need to somehow change the culture around that.
Yes, 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 yes. We do, and the music industry, you know, we are in part to blame for the development of this culture. I don't think anyone's done it maliciously, but we've contributed. We've contributed by, you know, the overuse of auto-tune, Melodyne. We've contributed, and I've shared many times here on the channel, one of my favourite albums, still to this day, is of a particular songwriter, Jeff Bullock, who did a recording of all of his songs. He's not a singer, he's a songwriter, a pianist. Beautiful songwriter in a particular genre, and it's just of him sitting at his piano. There's some verb on his voice, and you know, but it's imperfect. Like, he left it imperfect, and I'm so thankful to him that he left it imperfect, because it's human, it's real, you know, and as a result, it breathes. I find that the perfect art doesn't breathe.
That's amazing. I love what you said about the humanness of that imperfection.
Yes.
I think about when I go to a live show,
Yes.
and a singer makes a mistake or
Yeah.
sings an off note. I actually love those moments.
Yes.
Because without them, I may as well just kind of be home listening to a CD or
Yeah.
whatever. Like,
Yeah.
I want to see and I want to hear that human quality.
Absolutely. And I guess we have to balance all of that. There is a place for auto-tune and Melodyne, and I have an album and it's got auto-tune on it. It does, because it would have taken me longer in the studio because this type of album that I was producing was a production album. But I think what the end result of that being done en masse leaves us with this sense of, like you said, if I'm now going to create something, I need to create something that's perfect. And if I can't create something that is perfect, then I'm just not even going to do anything.
Yes. Which is so sad.
It is. It is.
It's
So what
so
do we
sad.
say to someone? What would you say to someone that is really struggling with that? Because I'm very conscious that some people would be watching today's show going, well, that's all well and good for you. to. You're established professionals, you've kind of already swum out past the breakers and you're kind of sitting on your surfboards all comfy. But what do we do to encourage people to take the risk?
Oh, well, I would firstly just start by telling them that I reckon I write, every 50 songs I write, maybe there's 2 good ones or 2 ones that I'll keep. So like I think that's something to really, that puts things into perspective. Like I'm constantly churning out things that I go, oh, great. I had to obviously write that song so I could get to the next song or whatever. But I think I would encourage these people who would like to give it a go to tap into the joy of what it feels like to just simply create, and to, again, it just comes back to not worrying about the end product, but actually just enjoying the journey and the process of writing something and of learning. And and also, if you're someone who likes to work with people as opposed to like writing on your own, how about you get a friend over who and do a co-write and just have fun with it. So it just comes back to lowering the stakes and not worrying so much if something's good or bad.
Yeah.
And not worrying what other people think either. Like, I guess removing. To let go.
I guess I'm hearing you say that it's about removing the value associated with that creation.
Yeah.
And it's about removing that sense of it's good, bad, or ugly.
Yes, and placing the value more on the process.
Process over product. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And especially, we're talking to people who are at the beginning of their creative journey, probably. So don't also get ahead of yourself. I think also we have we see so many people putting their music out on social media, and we start my little earbud fell out. We start the process of like being a creative person with like that goal in mind.
Yeah.
Get rid of that. Just get rid of that for now, and just enjoy it, and just find your voice.
Yes.
And the only way you can do that is by experimenting and failing and singing something that doesn't sound good. And
Zero to hero in 10 weeks on a TV talent show is not real. It's not real.
It's not real, and it's not sustainable.
And thank you for adding that. That is such an excellent addition to the statement. Yes, it's not real, and it's not sustainable. No. Absolutely. So true. So true. We're out of time. Pretty much. No! Would you believe it? I knew I would walk away lifted by our conversation. I just knew it. And I so thoroughly enjoyed having you on the show. Just quickly run off the couple of things where people can get into contact with you and engage in this process.
Yes. Okay. Well, you can go to cheeptrill.com, which I see you've got on the screen there.
I do.
You can also check out computerchoir.com, and then for my own original music, I have a website, emmadean.com. If you'd like to check that out as well, I'm doing a live stream performance through a website called Live on Mars, or you can just have a look at my Facebook page, Emma Dean Music, and it'll be streamed through there on the 6th of June at 8 p.m.
Awesome.
And I'd love to meet some of you and have a sing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for bringing your heart of encouragement and energy to the show, because it's, right now, is there ever a time where we've needed it more? and I know a lot of people who are watching the show from the US. Once again, our hearts just go out to you with what you as a country are going through. And I know there are other countries going through stuff as well, but yeah. Thank you, Emma. You're a champion.
Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. And congratulations on everything you're doing.
Oh,
Dr.
you're very
Dan. You're
kind.
amazing.
Thank you. The success of Voice Essentials comes from the community of people that are involved, and so thank you once again for tuning in. I hope you've enjoyed the show. How could you not have enjoyed this show? There's so much encouragement. You know, sometimes we can get into all the nitty gritty of singing and whatever, and sometimes it's just good to stop and breathe in the passion of a person like Emma, and allow it to inspire us and fuel us and see us move forward. So I feel, you know, I mean, I've got to teach another 3 students this afternoon. I think they're going to really cop it, because I'm going to be really pumped. Thank you for tuning in. We do these live shows every Monday, Australian Eastern Standard Time at 1 p.m. We've been doing them for years, so I hope you'll join in. You can always subscribe to the channel. Do you know we hit 152,000 subscribers just the other day? Amazing to have so many of you involved. Make sure you hit the white bell icon, because that'll make sure you get all the email notifications from YouTube to let you know when we're going live. Also to let you know when the pre-record videos go live. And this week there is a pre-record video coming out on Wednesday. Make sure you don't miss it. I go through the 15 reasons why your voice may not be developing at the pace that you would like. More importantly, I have solutions for all 15 reasons that might be the case. Check out that video, and that'll be great. Next week we're going to do a Q&A. So if you've got questions about singing, then jump onto the show, and we'll be answering your questions live to the best of my ability. I don't know it all, but we do know a little bit about singing, so we'll answer your questions next week. When you'll always, of course, let me get myself ready here, when you'll always hear me sign off every show by saying, I'm Dr. Dan, sing well.